What is up, guys? Euclid back here with you again, and welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are having an awesome weekend so far. If things go out correctly, this is being released Saturday night, whereas the next part of our Metro Exodus Caspian Sea Part 2 will be out some point Sunday. We are actually going to be checking out, at the behest of the few of you that have mentioned it on my channel, we are going to be checking out the official story trailer for Chernobylite. It has come out in two versions, both in Russian and English. They had a jump in subscribers, and not long ago it felt like they were only at about closing on 2, and they were like aligned with me, and they're a developer, so I expect this, and they've just jumped to around 5.3k, so they're climbing. There's also some interesting stuff we're going to talk about in this video as far as how they're actually funding this game. Some people might kind of have an issue with how they're funding this game. I do not. It just depends on what you want to give, because they have started a Kickstarter. So guys, without further ado, let's go ahead and check out the official story trailer of Chernobyl.
Если будем, значит будем грабить банки, вместе будем и напасть все.
Alright, here we go.
Внимание, внимание! Уважаемые товарищи! Городской совет народных депутатов сообщает, что в связи с аварией на Чернобыльской атомной электростанции в городе
Geiger counter.
складывается неблагоприятная радиационная обстановка.
You can't touch or smell it. Can't see it coming. It's already inside you.
Decontamination complete. Rendezvous at the refuge.
Holy shit.
To him too.
Okay.
We can't survive like this.
They're forming hostile groups.
But it's changing every atom of your body.
Oh shit, okay.
You're on your own. Hunt them down, all of them.
Leave before it's too late.
Do not engage. Repeat.
Look like a bloodsucker. Oh
You
shit.
don't want the truth. You've never wanted it.
I know the truth. I just need to find when. It'll make your eyes glow green and turn your soul black.
Okay. I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. Let's kind of go back through the video with the volume minimized per our usual, and let's actually try to delve deep into the official release trailer for Chernobylite. And after that, we're going to go over some details in the game and how they're funding it. So far, I'm liking what I'm seeing. Most of it looks like cinematic and cutscenes that you can't fully interact with until they finally release the controls to you. But one thing that I want to say that I'm excited about this game for is that it's looking to be more of a survival horror experience. Obviously, I'm still in this big kick for Metro Exodus, and I think I will be for a while, considering how well I've been treated and how awesome the community is. But this community is interlinked with a lot of the community that, long story short, is inspired by that part of the eastern side of the world and the iconic community that is surrounded around literally the icon that is the stalker and the gas mask. And it's much more simpler than just that. It's almost its own cult fandom that's slowly erupting and building. And I gotta say, they've already almost reached half of their goal of $100,000 on Kickstarter. But let's go ahead and go through the trailer, and then we'll talk about that in a minute. So at the beginning, you can already see I'm getting kind of like a Modern Warfare, the original Call of Duty Modern Warfare vibe. Right there. Let's listen just for a second to this, what this lady is saying. Attention, attention.
Внимание, внимание!
Внимание, внимание! I really need to learn Russian and Ukrainian. This is ridiculous. So that's what we were hearing in the previous trailer when you saw, or not the previous trailer. There was a trailer for the movie that's coming out called Chernobyl, which is actually going to be a series. I have mixed feelings about it because it doesn't look like it's going to be featuring any actors from the East, and it could still be good, but I don't know, there's just kind of a soul to it that I want to preserve with that. I am American by birth and by nationality and everything, and I do live in America, but I want to see films with their true soul kind of held intact. I'm not trying to disown it or trying to talk badly about it, but you get the point. Внимание, внимание. You hear that as the citizens of Pripyat are evacuating in that trailer, but that's another thing.
Городской совет народных
City Council of
депутатов
People's Deputies
сообщает, что в связи с аварией
forms that due to an accident,
Чернобыльской атомной
Chernobyl Nuclear Power Plant,
электростанции
there's the
в
Geiger
городе
counter, and the city of Pripyat
складывается
and adverse radiation conditions evolve. So we need to go ahead and we'll minimize the volume a little bit more. I know I'm kind of like jumping the gun a little bit on this one, but one thing we need to really keep in mind right here is that we are no longer going to be playing as far as my knowledge is concerned. This guy may be a trained Special Forces member, but in the Metro series, you play what starts off as a local resident of a fairly wealthy station in the Moscow Metro, in the universe of Metro, who eventually becomes a member of a Special Forces squad, Special Forces group of, only a few hundred at its top strength, and we become that, and we are surrounded by special forces who help us, especially in Exodus. In this game, you're a stalker. You are taking the role of an individual who does not have elite training. That's somebody who does not have that, that kind of that aura of a Spartan order. This is different, but it's interconnected with the community. Okay, there are people that are fans of Metro who are looking forward to this and want to see it succeed, because we would like to have more of a survival horror experience, an experience where ammo is even more scarce. I say ammo is scarce in Exodus and Last Light in 2033, but not really. If you just save your ammo and don't waste it on dumb shit, knock out bandits, knock out enemies, and use your throwing knives, which you can always restore by pulling out of the corpse of your enemies, this game is going to be more of I have 5 bullets and there's like 10 things between me and them. Why don't I just try to not shoot any of them and get around them and sneak around them, or use other methods like we saw in that part of the trailer where he used the flare to burn that monster and just to get by it. And it was insane. So right here, we have what looks like the main protagonist overlooking the city of Pripyat and Chernobyl. Now, if you look right here, that right there, that is the Chernobyl power plant. If I'm not mistaken, that looks to be the Chernobyl power plant. There's the curtain. I mean, there's a lot of things that fans of the Stalker series are going to see and be like, ooh, because we all want to go back to the zone in a new title. And that's for the most part, guaranteed with the release of Stalker 2 to be announced. That was already announced. It was going to be happening in 2021, I believe. And we can go over that a little bit later, too, as well. But right now, we see it. It looks like there's already a protective curtain around the reactor. So the Chernobyl exclusion zone has already been set up. We are dealing with the after effects of the Chernobyl exclusion zone. That is what I get from this trailer, and you guys will be kind enough to correct me if I'm wrong. So we have that right there. Immediately, the character pulls out a Geiger meter. So 4 MSV, scan for chemicals. You scan for different things. So you can switch this thing to scan for different things. So I guess this is how you gather resources as well. This thing seems to have a multi-purpose, not just as, a Geiger counter. Or maybe that's how it gets material. Maybe you have to suffer the effects of radiation just to get resources. So you're kind of like dooming yourself over time, but that is no stranger to those of us that are fans of Artyom and his quest. So let's continue on. We can't just keep comparing the Metro series to the Stalker series and the Stalker series to the Chernobylites, what may even be a series, hopefully. More of these games, the better. More of these games that can surround this universe. I would base my channel entirely on games from this part of the world, from the European and further eastern parts of the world, just because I find them more interesting and I always have. So right here, immediately, we know one thing. Day 1, in the city of Pripyat. This looks like the legendary Black Stalker that we're hearing about. Some kind of main protagonist. I gotta say, I do like the thought of kind of like this powerful Grim Reaper of the zone that they're kind of building this guy up to be. I'm a bigger fan of the eerie Cold War era gas mask that you see with like the tubes leading to their tanks and everything. It's very creepy. It reminds me of, well, I hate to bring up Stalker again, but it reminds me of things. I'm going to go and adjust my camera a little bit, and we'll just kind of peek off to the side with my big head. So the scene switches over from the Black Stalker and immediately switches over. It looks like a water tower in the distance. Irrelevant facts for you guys. There's a little fire. And then immediately switches to this. So same scene, same area, everything. Look in the background. There's the house in the background. And it looks like foliage has changed. New foliage has grown. I mean, look at this. The same stuff is there, but different trash has appeared. So you've got some kind of exclusion zone military, which is probably the Russian military. It is probably some form of government, because we don't know technically who's in power in this alternate history with the Russian exclusion zone. We don't know who's in power, but this is their form of military. Anybody who's played the S.T.A.L.K.E.R series knows of the military, and anybody who's played any mods of the S.T.A.L.K.E.R series knows there's ways to get them on your side, ally with them, and knows that they are a strong presence, but they are still limited just as much as the rest. And they are not always as well versed in the zone, as they mostly are just trying to contain the damn thing and eventually take it, either utilize it or destroy it, but keep it away from the rest of the world. Perhaps this is what this form of power is actually trying to do. So it switched away from that first scene, obviously, and I hate to make this so long, but I want to go over it because I haven't had time to make a fucking video in forever. Right here, the Black Stalker is just kind of looking around, just hanging out, and you'll notice, and make sure our actual quality of the video is up as high as it can be, that's just the effects rippling. And then you have day 13. So it goes from day 1, what looks like a stalker. I don't know what that is exactly. This is probably the Black Stalker. Maybe he was there when everything first went down. There's day 4. I mean, and anybody that knows anything about Chernobyl, and I'm not going to talk about it, I want you guys to go read about it. I'm really not going to babble on about it. Knows that it wasn't something that was one and done and over. It was an agonizingly long event where people had to lay siege to something that was going to kill them, no matter how they handled it. And it was probably also the lack of there was misinformation. There was a lot of different things going on. It's a really interesting story, and I hope that we see either Russian, Ukrainian, whatever, we see a true film based on the Chernobyl events. I would love to see that, and to kind of actually capture what a lot of the public service, if you call them, a lot of the firefighters that had to lay siege to Chernobyl, and I like to call it that because their heroism is not always spoken about, and these people died, and it's not something to be taken lightly. There's a lot of heavy pain behind this story, and a lot of people forget to mention that or even talk about it. It's always, it's gonna be cool, Chernobyl is awesome. No, Chernobyl's horrible, actually, and people don't realize how that changed that part of the world. They don't understand that pain unless they're there. That's the truth. So, hate to get a little bit uppity. I know I'm American, but you should at least show some respect for where this community, the Stalker community, the Metro community, that are all interlinked like a spider web of fans, were spawned, quite literally like the zone was spawned in shrouded mystery, but it was shrouded because of the fan fiction that came from people that were wild in imagination and brought up the S.T.A.L.K.E.R series and everything else, but that was all born of a horrible event. So there's a lot of power and pain and beauty behind all of this, and that's why I'm so in love with these kind of games. I really want this game to succeed. I may do a Kickstarter, but they're crazy. Let's just continue with the trailer. And then day 13, the world's it's just on fire. Everything is on fire. I think it's very faint, but I think that house in the background's on fire too. The trailer's on fire. I don't notice any bodies or anything. Not too much of a difference there. Pretty much the same thing. You have a couple of trailers. It looks like they carried some kind of tubing. I doubt they were missile trailers, but it's hard to tell. And now we're going to take a second to kind of carry on and watch.
You can't touch or smell it.
This is an uninteractive cinematic is what it looks like.
Can't see it coming. It's already inside you.
And a lot of these lines are actually being donated by people who have won contests and put lines on the Farm 51 site and on the Chernobylite Twitter and other social media sites. And they are going to be putting a lot of fan ideas into this game. I love that. Personally, a lot of people are like, oh, they make their own decisions, and I haven't seen a lot of that negativity, but I've seen a little bit of it. Even then, it surprises me. You're going to get assholes wherever you go, but I really like that they are actually taking donated ideas from the community. I mean, that's got to feel special, and a few people who are really for this and who just have a hunger for a new game set in this part of the world to at least kind of relieve some of their stalker addiction. You know, we're playing a game that is so many years old that is modded to be brought back to life, which we love, but we really want to see a sequel, and this is not just something to hold us over. Maybe this will become its own new addiction in a matter of time. Mess with the camera there. So what I'm really excited to see is how interactive the world is going to be. This next part's interesting. Decontamination complete. I may have actually played this game in... I might do some Slavic subtitles and just have them in English, just because I've been told it makes the game better. And I think I really need to start doing it. Exodus, I'm going to finish in English, but this game... Look at this. So this looks like more of what could be the Russian government's... Okay, so this is what's going on. We have... It's probably not the Black Stalker, but it looks like the Russian government has found a stalker who broke into the exclusion zone. That looks like a Russian military member. And I don't want to dare just say Russian, because we can't just assume that just because in other games it was the Russian government that it's going to be in this one. Guys, leave your comments down below and tell me what you think. He's taking the gun off of the body, and this is a non-interactive cinematic, it looks like. One thing we need to pay attention to is that just look at these guys. These troops are on Overwatch. This guy's kind of watching the front. I'm assuming there's infantry watching the back. There's a body right here. So this was a small group of stalkers that was actually cut off, ambushed, and or hunted down by the military members that are trying to keep people out of the exclusion zone. But it seems like they're actually hiding something. So this is going to be a little more interesting.
Another one. To him too.
And I'm hearing kind of a Western voice. I'm hearing what sounds more like an American voice. I dare not assume it's American. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, we included Sam in Metro Exodus, and that was awesome. I really like him. He's an interesting character with a dynamic of, are you with us if your country's still alive? But in this game, it's a little bit different. Everybody's coming to the zone, not just Russians, Ukrainians, anybody from the East. So I like the thought of having a Nagant revolver, and I believe that's what this gun is. One bullet.
Can't survive like this.
Overturned bus. The supply. Honestly, the cutscenes are looking really good, and there's one bullet. So
We can't survive like this.
okay, so we obviously have tunnels, and I'm getting Stalker vibes. When I say I'm getting Stalker vibes, that is a good thing. I love that there is kind of an undertone of hidden connection within this community. You have to remember that some of the main people, including Andrew Prof, came from GSC Game World, and he came from the development team. He actually broke off due to what I would believe to be some moral reasons, and to start his own development team, and that's why he's kind of viewed as more of a leader of his group. But, you know, you see this intermingling. There's always going to be some kind of spiritual connection or spiritual predecessor continuation of the series and the games between one another. I'm rambling on and I'm dragging on. Let's continue. Okay, so this character right here, we can tell by the mask, by the wound, by the one good arm, and by the clothing. Looks like pistol rounds in the leg. You got a satchel, a self-made tourniquet type deal to hold their arm up, a self-made cast. Looks like there's a lantern in the background, so this might be a place where they are either trying to survive. However, we see in another part of that trailer where that person gives you a pistol. So this is probably one of your unlikely allies who's not doing good, and you can either choose to kill them, probably, take them back, but then you have to take care of them because they're injured, nurse them back to health. Maybe if you nurse them back to health, they become a potential ally, and maybe they're quite a good marksman. Maybe they're a left-handed marksman and their left arm is fucked up, and so they're useless, or at least very, very minimal, diminished in their full capacity as a fellow soldier and stalker. Maybe they're diminished by their ability because of the fact that their injury happens. There's so many things we could do with this, so many things that the team behind the Farm 51 could do with this. This scene interests me. Look at this old warehouse and how it's slowly being cleaned up by this scene. I get kind of a vibe from that amazing trailer of the Division, trailer for Division, where it shows the apartment and all the stuff that's happening with that family, but you don't see the people. You just see how the world changed and how the world evolved with their actions, right? So it's really cool to see that evolving cutscene. But look at that. You can kind of see the progressiveness of the level itself. I want to know who this is because I have a feeling they're at least a side character, a main character. It looks like they have a civilian type gas mask. It gets me that reminiscent vibe of the one that but Anna and other stalkers are said to wear. Less militant and more civilian, but you would use what you get your hands on besides. It's a gas mask. Most of them aren't even armored. So I like how it looks like they eventually made their own cart. That looks self-made, like they took some pieces, they strapped some wheels on, and they made like a really heavy wheelbarrow. and now there's a generator, now there's light. So you can probably restore places or bases and make like camps, similar to the Sparta bases in Metro Exodus. Again, I dare not compare for this, but I think there's a lot of inspiration. I think all these games inspire each other. But I welcome that. I welcome that competition. We need more games. You can't just have one. We need more games like this.
But it's changing.
Look at that. Now there's a workbench, the light, there's power. It looks like some kind of emergency center, if not maybe health center or whatever. It looks like this. And just look at this. Look at all the recycled gas masks they found. Probably had to go through like 20 of those just to find a good one, like a piece together. I love that. Okay, look at this dead stalker. There is just something so fucking addicting about this community and about the games within this community. And I have to say the biggest thing about it is about literally the word stalker. What does it mean? To some people, it means a mercenary or a freelancer who is going into an illegal exclusion zone that is basically bounded up and completely closed off by the military of said country. But it's more than that. Stalker is it's a way of life with these games. These are people, some of which, and we've heard their stories within the Stalker series and some within the Metro series, that some of them are people that just go to the zone to find rare objects that you would only find before either the war or the exclusion zone, or things that were only found in Pripyat, for example. And they have to undergo horrible tasks, avoiding anomalies, mutant creatures, bandits, and the military, who will all kill them because, I mean, and then other stalkers who you probably can't always trust unless you know them and you've formed a bond with them. And even then, there's a lot of deception within the world and the lifestyle of a stalker. And I think that's another thing that we're all hypnotized by. There's just so much that could be said about a cutscene or about a picture that shows a dead stalker leaning against a car, and then all you wonder is, what's his story? What's her story? What did they go through? Why were they here? Were they like that one stalker we heard about in the Stalker series who went into the zone to get a bunch of anomalous objects and sell them so that he could take care of his family and then never come back? Or was it somebody trying to get rich? Was it a guy that eventually started, leading and spearheading a bandit operation to rob people as a way of life and an easy means through brute force? Or was it a agent by the Russian military, hence Call of Pripyat? So, I mean, there's just so many different things that you could point out to. But this game's going to be more survival horror. And what I like about this is the thought of having characters with you. So it looks like this character here. This could be anybody. We don't have, you have to kind of watch it. Let's slow it down. So, one thing that we need to point out, and I'm muting it for a good reason. There we go. It looks like it might actually be the same character that you meet before. Well, their clothing looks a little different. What if this was the stalker? Now, it looks like a totally different character. But yeah, that looks like a liquidator. Look at that Cold War era gas mask that they appear to have. And then some of you have left comments on my channel, comment section, about the liquidators and people that were around before and maybe how they eventually met their demise. Like, look at these suits who are just filthy and probably compromised. And you got guys like this who are just wearing jackets with a lot of pockets and whatever, pants you can get your hands on and boots. And I mean, you're basically getting what you think would help you in the zone, going in and hoping for the best. And then hopefully, if you survive long enough, you get experience from other stalkers, you survive enough to have actual real life experience. I mean, that's what Stalker's all about. It's about survival, but it's about what your reason for being in the exclusion zone is. And ours, it seems to be, is to find either a lost lover, the spirit of a lover, or is there something within the exclusion zone similar to kind of like a monolith-esque vibe that I'm getting where it's calling to you and drawing you in? Is it deception? Has she been dead for a long time? Kind of like the movie The Grey with Liam Neeson, where the ghost harkens to you. But it's still different because he was aware. He just had a hard time forgiving her for dying. In this case, though, maybe it's not like that. Maybe you actually think she's alive because something happened to you. Maybe the Chernobylite is already within you. We don't know. But what I'm really interested in, and I'll go ahead and put it back to regular speed as I stutter like Porky Pig. I'm really excited to see who these certain characters are, especially that one. I just can't get over the fact, like this character right here, I love that you can kind of clean up your base. And look at that. Eventually you restore power. That probably takes a long time, and I hope it does. God, one game that I really love that I never finished playing through was oh my god, Homefront Revolution. Love the game and the premise of an American revolution where like a totalitarian or whatever government is taking over your country. The North Korean, or the Norks as they like to nickname it, is taking over your country. You have to rebel, but eventually you get to a point where it's not hard to get on or a hold of the greatest weapons ever. And I agree with that to some extent. Maybe you would eventually start to overwhelm them, but for like the first 80-90% of the struggle, it's rough as fuck, and you can only ambush and run away, and still you're going to lose people. In that game, it's overwhelming. This game, I want to feel desperate. Make me feel like one mistake is going to get all my people killed. Make me feel tense, and then make it to where I don't want to reload my game to save them all. Make it to where I want to push forward, pay for my mistakes, and then continue on. That's what I want.
Changing.
Love that you can kind of upgrade your shit. Looks like almost looks like a camera tester. Look at all these items in there. This little ballerina. You're kind of collecting things because you can take pieces from all. There's more of a civilian-esque mask. You have Cold War era mask, it looks like.
For your body.
Yeah. I cannot help you. You're on your own. And I think those are just random. Look at that. It's just a fast-forwarded scene, and what I like about that is we don't know if those guys are actually like Russian military, but we know that maybe the world changes and maybe they drive and park places and they camp out. I hope that's not just a cinematic thing again, but if their Kickstarter is successful and they do raise $100,000 like they want to, that would be exciting. So that's something I really look forward to. And there is Natalia, I think is her name. I can't remember the name of the person you were looking after, but it's really creepy. Yeah, we'll stop freeze framing. This next part's interesting because it gives me like a bloodsucker vibe from the S.T.A.L.K.E.R series. That right there, I'm getting a bloodsucker kind of Dark One vibe. Dark One more because of the height and the color, but bloodsucker because of what they are. Then that doll, and then whenever you see the doll with the Chernobylite infested eyes, I love that. I love that when you look at that. That right there. That's creepy as fuck. He's just looking at you like, what's going on? Like they're observing you, but they're so quick. And they're almost like a spirit. You can't really catch them or keep up with them. And then this thing grabs you. This fucking, you don't want the truth. That dialogue's crazy. Yeah, I get a bloodsucker vibe, and honestly, guys, I think of those acid-spitting monsters from Silent Hill, where they're like, their arms are fused to their body, and they're like, they're fucking roaring at you and shit, and then the whole premise of like this mutated humanoid that used to be human, and then there's like this tongue, so the entire jaw and everything's falling off the face is fused together. That's creepy as fuck, and the fact that these might actually be monsters, like maybe it fused to the wall simply because of the world and how the radiation affects it. I don't know. What I know is part of its body is stuck to the wall, and maybe that's how they survive. Maybe they go dormant and they fuse to the wall. We don't know. But that is something I am looking forward to. I apologize about the rambling, but unscripted is my soul monster. I cannot do things off of a script. It just takes too long. I don't have time. I love that he takes the flare to this thing's mouth. And we don't know what's going on there. Like, that thing's holding its head. These things are in what looks like constant pain. They're glowing green from Chernobylite. Is this what stalkers, military, is this what humans become when they are so exposed to Chernobylite that they transform and they become something otherworldly? And that dialogue, the voice acting doesn't sound bad at all. I really like all the voices we're kind of hearing, all the subtle kind of radio transmission to voices and radio dialogue we're hearing from what sounds like other stalkers, perhaps other members of the zone, people that are there giving you advice, and some people who are just not going to help you. They'll give you a little advice, but then you're on your fucking way, and they're not going to help you. I love it. He just rams that flare into its mouth like, ah! What the fuck? Like, that's terrifying. And then you got this part right here, which it looks like the character's kind of hiding. It looks like there's a glowing green bit of Chernobylite, and where is he throwing him into? Is it like a shaft? Is that a closet that's going to fucking mess with him? And I'm curious to see what we can read off the walls. Most of it's going to be what looks like in Russian, so we don't know. It depends on what's inspired. There may even be Polish hints to it, as the Form 51 is a Polish developer. Correct me if I'm wrong. This part is fucking creepy because they're just lumbering towards you. But I have a feeling that it's going to have some... I just have this weird feeling that they're going to kind of be like some of the monsters from Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, where they walk, but as they close the gap, they kind of fucking stumble really quick. Like when they're like between 5 and 10 feet away from you, and you're like, oh, what the fuck? So that's going to be interesting to see. And it looks like, you know, you can probably aim, but maybe you have a skill set. We don't know if this game's going to have RPG elements. I doubt it. More survival horror than anything. The game's real world time is probably not good enough for you to become more skilled. Maybe you'll become better at the game, but your character does not level up. I don't think that game's going to have an RPG element like S.T.A.L.K.E.R. I think it's going to be more survival horror. It's going to focus more on survival horror. And you'll notice that as he sways the gun, he's not really aiming down the sights. He's kind of like nervous, and I think it displays that not just undertone, but the tone itself of horror within this game. Well, I was in here. Maybe he was here because of supplies that he needed. And what is all this shit growing around the walls? I think that's a Chernobylite. That is that material that is caused by, that was caused by the reaction or whatever, but it's grown like a fungus. Yeah, that's Chernobylite. It has like a crystalline cubic shape to it and everything. And I think that's what's turned people into these bloodsucker-esque creatures that remind me of the very horribly, I would say overpowered. I like that they're overpowered kind of because it makes them scarier. You get in one ambush and 2 scratches and you're dead. I love that he shoots at them. He kind of shoots it. I think he missed the first shot, and then he connected one shot, but it looked like it was like midsection. And if you shoot these things in the midriff, it either will kill them or piss them off. It probably won't kill them. You probably have to go for that nasty, open, tonguey mouth to take out, the nervous system. You got to kill what was making the human before ticking, because that's still what their main source of movement and activity. You got to kill the actual creature within, which is really the nervous system. So you got to take it down. Take it down. Make it quick. You find a dead stalker here who's kind of holding his arm. We don't know. Yeah, it looks like he's dead. He gathered a postcard from it. And it looks like there's something going on with this girl. And I do get kind of that vibe from Mia. Maybe she was in on something. Maybe this girl that maybe she's in on whatever's going on in the exclusion zone. She might be a part of some fucking cult. We don't know. And that's what I love about these the months before a game is to be released. So it's going to be a while, but I love that they're already releasing documentaries. I do think they're kind of inspired by the Metro series, but not in a bad way. I think the whole postcards, how the only thing you have of the old world are fragments of that on picture. People think that, it's ridiculous to always take pictures wherever you go, but we have an innate fear of not remembering things, and we want to remember them as they actually were. So I think that's why, especially my generation, millennials, say what you want, are known for taking a lot of pictures. Plus, we were kind of spoiled by the sudden surge of technology. So, I love this, how he's got kind of this hunter styled. It almost looks like a tactical shotgun that I would have used back in public service that my friends were really trained in. And it almost looks like there is a sway effect, though. It looks like there's probably a certain difficulty where the reticle was removed. That'll be interesting to see. I really want to see that, and then it turns around and then you see this, and I think that's Natalia. I'm pretty sure I might be saying her name wrong, but it's like a miniature. But then that's what it is. The world suddenly transforms. So pay attention, because if you don't pay attention, as soon as he turns, the world turns into what looks like this big maze, and it looks like this is probably all Chernobylite, and there's just fractured sparks. It's almost like cinders in the air, but it's made of Chernobylite, and it's coming from her. And I think she has a lot more to do with what's going on and what's wrong than the main. I love that Tili Bum lullaby. It's so fucking creepy. Tili Bum. So I love this too, because it just reminds us that everything about this trailer is just a big teaser. It looks like stalkers can be hung. You can probably save them too. That'd be cool, right? But then you have to choose. Do I use all my ammo to kill these guys? If I succeed, I'll have a lot more ammo. But then maybe the military would be more on to me. Do I let this guy die and let them think the zone is clear? And who is that guy? That's my biggest questions for the trailer. If I've missed anything, guys, feel free to point that out and everything. Honestly, and I think I can go ahead and safely turn off the screen for the gameplay and all that stuff like that. There are gameplay trailers out that were given to people exclusively, and I think I'm actually going to go over it in another video as far as the Kickstarter and everything. We'll do that in a different video. But guys, I want to know what you think about this game that is to be. What do you think about the Farm 51's project with Chernobylite? Do you think it's going to carry a lot of the spiritual successor? Is it going to be a spiritual successor to S.T.A.L.K.E.R, kind of like the Metro series is? It looks closer to S.T.A.L.K.E.R because it's more about untrained freelancers and mercenaries avoiding anomalies and monsters and the zone's elements themselves, as well as the very military of the Eastern government, whichever one it may be, because we don't know. It could be alternate history. And is it going to be like that? Is it going to contain memories from those games? Is it going to give you that kind of that hunger for those games that we had before? We don't know. Guys, leave your comments down in the section below. Thank you for supporting this channel. If you guys liked the video, feel free to like it. If you did not, leave a dislike with a reason why. If you want to see more videos like this and others in the future, then feel free to subscribe to my channel as well as turn notifications on so you can follow me. We're doing about a video or two a week at the most just because of my work lifestyle and everything. Hopefully that frees up one day because I cannot stand. I miss working 4 days a week, my 10-hour shifts. But guys, until next time, there are some other things I need to mention as well. Social media, I do have it, and I will leave links to all of those down in the description below. I'll leave them at the top, especially for this video, so you guys can follow me. I do have a Twitter handle. You can follow me on Instagram. It's kind of a smaller page, and I also have my own Discord server, which has just recently become a little more active. We only have between around 30 to 40 members. It's small, but much like my channel. So guys, if you want to join any of those or follow them, I also have a Facebook page, but it's a little less active due to kind of the death of Facebook, and I really don't like updating 4 or 5 pages every time I put out a video. I'm not trying to sound lazy. I just want to get these videos out, edit them as decently as I can, get good thumbnails by my good friend Joshua Zell, who you can support down in the link below. We actually have a petition going on for him. Not a petition, but a fundraiser on GoFundMe to repair his computer that's been having a lot of problems, and he needs them. That's why it takes so long for him to get my thumbnails done, because A, it takes a lot of time for him to render that artwork. But if you want to support him as well, then you can obviously check out the info card up in the top left section of the screen. Guys, until next time, this has been the trailer review and reaction to the official Chernobylite story trailer in English. I am Euclid, and I will see all of you stalkers in the exclusion zone in the next video.